Hi, I'm Jeremy. Welcome to our farm and our house in progress, Cornucopia Orchards. Come with me today down to the house. I'm just doing some mudding, some taping. We're in the drywall stage of our house build, and it's all kind of, got a nice rhythm to it. It's very peaceful. I actually really like it. I don't know that it's something that I could do because, you know, not really great on the carpal tunnel, but on my own house, I'm enjoying it. The only other thing to keep in mind with this is that's a tapered edge that I'm working on. So it dives in just a little bit, and then when I add that tape on, in theory, it's gonna come out to be in plane with the rest of the sheet. So if I did have a little bit of extra, it wouldn't be the end of the world. So the interior up here in the attic is drying on the ceiling to wall transitions, the interior angles. And I don't really want to, like, it's mostly dry, but it's not 100% there yet. And the reason that I pre-filled them is wherever there was, I didn't bevel cut the wall boards to match up to the ceiling boards. No, 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 no. None of that now. And so that created a little triangle space that I wanted to get filled so that that would dry and then the tape wouldn't suck in or deform when I went to install the tape to join those two surfaces. Well, my new drill is supposed to arrive today, so that'll be nice, because that one's basically just a glorified flashlight. So one thing that we haven't looked at yet is what we're doing in bathrooms as far as the taping and mudding stage. And most of the bathrooms, the other two, so I guess 2 out of 3, are standard, direct to stud, preformed walls and bases for the showers and tubs. And the master is a little different. We did use this Go board, and I'll put a link to that video in case you want to see that installation. And at the time I said I'll figure out these joints later. That brings me to what I'm doing in general where there's grain board. So this area is going to get steamy, and you need something for any of your joints in an area like this. And yes, that's white board instead of green. It's just the way it is. Happened to be that I was running low on green and that one fit the space. But I'm going to be joining these with a it's like a waffle weave tape. And so you put this on ahead of time before you put on any mud at all. And the issue in bathrooms isn't the mud and it's not the gypsum when you have mold. It's the paper or the tape. So in this bathroom, this one board is not resistant to mold. I'm not really worried about it because it's such a small room and I have an overhead fan that we're going to be running. But in general, you want a mold resistant product, and this is very mold resistant. It's got the highest score for resistance to mold. I mean, it's essentially a plasticized, so I mean, how's mold going to grow on it? But each of the seams is going to get done with this, and wherever you have a tapered edge, it goes away. There's like this piece here. I would think it would start near the near that, but sure looks like it starts right here. There it is. Yeah. And you don't really have to worry about it. But the reason I don't like these types of tape is because wherever you have a butt joint or a corner and you use something like this, it's going to be visible unless you put on more of a cake layer. You really have to bury it because these fibers have a larger profile than tape does. Something to be aware of and something to plan for. I would not want to use this style of tape if I could get away with it, like in a kitchen or something like that, where there's going to be cabinets and stuff going on the walls to where the walls need to be flatter. Like if you were to put it as a backsplash, that just seems excessive to me. There's not that much moisture. So here's something I wasn't sure whether I was going to do or not, and I decided to I'd go ahead and try. And one of the reasons I wasn't going to do it is because I don't have an easy / safe utility knife to be able to do this project the way that I had seen it done online, but we're going to give it a shot. So up in here, there's a fairly large gap. And over here, there was a compounded gap. It was gapped both ways. And it just is going to need something solidish behind it. And so I filled it with expanding foam. And a little bit in that corner, I went ahead and filled in some more and some more, because this is the room where I had a particularly hard time, and I had tried to run the wall sheets first, and not really to great success, to be honest. Over here, I think it's acceptable. I can mud that and not have any real major loss of material, but the mud's much more expensive than one of these expanding foam cans. You know, one couple dollar can did most everything I needed done in the house. And so that's what we did. And I'm waiting for it to cure before I come back and blade it back to the depth, because it's low expansion foam, and that should mean it won't bubble out much more than it already has, but it's definitely past the edge, and I wasn't 100% sure. You can see there's a little bit in a lot of these corners. And just to be honest, I wasn't 100% sure how it was going to turn out. I went ahead and used just the one can. Like, I could have probably gotten a little bit more up on this side, for example, further down. I think we're fine there, but we're going to see how that turns out, because that was something that had been demonstrated online by somebody who's, you know, got all kinds of construction experience, especially from remodeling, under their belt, but you know, millions and millions and millions of views and so forth and so on. So it's got to be good, right? While I had it open, I went ahead and did stuff that, you know, is really more intended for the spray foam anyway, like air sealing these. Not because they needed to be, because they are sealed at the floor and fire blocked at the floor, but because I could. And while I'm waiting for that expanding foam to finish curing, I'm going around and just checking and seeing if there's any additional screws. And there definitely are some screws that need cinched in to make them tight. Remember, both in this room and most of the second floor, I did a mix of hand and collate. And I think that by and large, the hand driver put it within a 1/16 or snugged it just the way it should be. But there's still some even from that need additional cinching down. And I don't want to have to bring a Phillips head around with me and try and hand cinch them in because of my wrist. That's just not going to be a thing I'm going to do to my poor little wrist, my baby wrist. So we're going to make it a separate check and take this time to go ahead and just make sure the second floor is good. Mostly just checking with the finger and seeing any of these that feel, and the fields are always pretty much good. Sometimes right here on these tapers, it needs to come in a bit more. That one's really fighting. There we go. Just to get it where it should be. That's good, actually. Carefully take our little batarang here, and that's what we get. Gotta be real careful. They make an attachment, a handle for these, to where you can come at it and it's flat, and you can just go, and if you put it at a slight angle, then you can cut. I just don't have one, and I didn't see one at my local store, so I am just being very, very careful. Out of mud for the day, but made fair progress here in the bathroom. Got this one first layer all done up, and pretty much everything in here. Did my first corners, so I'll be showing my, I guess, ineptitude or skill with that next time, now that I've done it once and feel like I have an understanding. But it's looking pretty good. Old and mostly dead. Brand new, and hopefully it'll last me a while. Get that ready, but first I'm gonna make sure these are good and clean. Those look nice. I've seen people drag this over the side, and I've tried that, and I haven't found as much success with that as I have with just pretending like this is a pastry. There we go. That's what your pants are for, I always figured. I'm gonna get that stuff all over them anyway. So fresh batter. It's pretty nice and wet as far as it goes. And we're gonna do, I've been finding about 500 ml, less than one bottle for this stuff. Seems to be pretty good. And then the fun part where I always get it all over myself. See if we can do this without that today. Try and work the water in a little bit. Maybe it won't sploosh me. If it doesn't start out 100% separate. Who am I kidding? It's gonna sploosh me anyway. You don't like that, huh? There we go. That is beautiful. Look at that. It's about as much as I like to have on my hawk. So this room I've already gone through, and I've tried to get all the screws. So there really isn't a whole lot that I got to do to prepare. Those circuits aren't on as far as I'm aware. One of the things I am doing is I'm just running that mud over what I need to on these just a little bit, so that I can just get it in there next to the box, kind of seal that up. Not enough to get in the way of the electrical. If you can't see that seam, then I feel like you've got too much mud on. That's how I'm using to determine if I have enough mud or too much mud, just for this tape layer. Wait, did I miss that with this tape? I think I did. Yeah, I missed that joint entirely. Whoops. Just gonna run that down a little ways here. Try that again. I was just sitting there and thinking, why is that tape at a different spot? Well, it's early. Early in the morning. It's not Jeremy's time of the day. Oh, almost got it.
What?
I was trying to catch it.
Oh.
I'm gonna get okay at this at about the time we finish up.
Yeah.
You know, able to catch stuff and go reasonably quickly. Ah, man. Oh, it went right in your bucket. Does that count?
I think that counts.
Oh, two little creatures.
It's done.
You're done.
Fine.
Okay, give Daddy a second. Gotta get this tape at least on.
I can go down. Not difficult. Yes, dear. Right here.
Mommy, where'd you go?
I will go down. You guys are going to be such good artists.
It's an article memory. That's because Steven has good imagination and I have good memory.
That's true. You
I
also have
memorized
good
my
imagination.
is the ad about the skeleton.
Uh-huh.
Listen, and and put in a splash of color, what I think. And I put in a splash of color with my head for one spoon too.
Yes, I like the splash of color. It's nice.
So getting close to first coat finished on this little room here. Got this tape up in case it's gonna hop over and get that nicely seated in. And I just wanted to take a quick second to talk about the spray foam. Casey, you were saying you thought it was working pretty well.
Yeah, it just gives a little bit of support to the mud so that you're not shoving
a 1/4 inch of mud in somewhere, and then it kind of, gravity makes it fall forward as it's drying if it's too thick. And so by putting the spray foam in there, you don't have to use as much mud, and there's less risk of it doing that because it dries quicker.
Yeah, I feel like the other thing that it might do is it might actually pull the tape backwards into the hole because of, you know, if it gets smaller as it dries. But so you can see we've got like 3/16 on this section here, maybe down to 1/4 there. Anything larger than that, like this was more than 1/4. And then we've got like on this edge and this edge. So I'll come back to this once it's dried and we'll take a look at it and you can kind of see how it ends up. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day. If you enjoyed this video, hit the subscribe button and stick around, and we'll see you on the next one.